Good morning, it's Harvey Jackson. We're just going to go through the trade deal that the U.S. China had put through. Looks like they've come to some sort of agreement that's going to at least slow down some of the increasing tariff for tariff kind of back and forth. USDA is putting out the WASDE report, and Brazil's putting out their CONAB report. It should be out shortly, but yeah, so just look forward for that. India's palm oil imports started to surge, and they're expecting to actually buy. They're at ahead of pace, and the other thing that they're ahead of pace on is their soybean oil purchases, which usually comes from not usually North America, but from Argentina, Brazil, and Russia, Ukraine kind of areas as well. So here's Karen Braun was just talking about how there's all kinds of trying to predict what's going to happen when there's this market has a carry or an inverse, and I don't know if there's any good answer there. Here's the trade deal that we were talking about, and I would say the probably the highlight piece that you want to maybe focus in on is where the 50% tariffs or 55% tariff, what it actually means. It's the sum of the baseline of the 10% reciprocal that he put on, and the 20% on all Chinese imports associated with the acquisition of the fentanyl issues, plus the 25% levies that were put on in the first presidential term. Now, so this has just calmed the news. It's just the framework of a deal getting made. There is a lot more deals that have to get made. So if this 90-day pause is 90-day pause, there's only one tentative deal that's been done so far that I think of, and I think that's the UK, and it's only a framework as well. So there's all this work that's going on in the background and very little getting done, as far as I can see. So let's just get into the weather a little bit here. You can see that there's some heat building in a lot of areas, and it doesn't go well with lack of moisture in some of these areas. So there is going to be some concern. There's hope that there could be some rainfall in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Looks like there's going to be some hitting some of Alberta areas, but it's that fringe area, almost the Alberta Saskatchewan border, all the way to through Manitoba, that there's not going to be a whole lot. Now we're looking at, this is just a 14-day observed, and there's been some rain, but there's been some holes everywhere that hasn't gotten any rain. Here's just the active weather, showers going across U.S. This is your wind. Now, very important for spraying, but if you notice at the very end of that, we get up to 50 some miles an hour up into Manitoba, Saskatchewan there. Here's the artificial intelligence European model, and it does build moisture in, and you can see when it builds in there, but it builds in a fair bit of moisture in Saskatchewan. Manitoba, not as much, but still get some rainfall. Here's your GFS, and same kind of situation, but it's maybe not smoothed out the same. Here's the GEFS, same kind of thing. So we've got three different weather models all showing the same situation, but it's maybe prolonged, and we're going to need it for some of these forest fires that are in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. And here's just your smoke outlay map. Here's another interactive map, and it does show a lot more fires over in this region over here in BC and Alberta. But what I want to point out here in Manitoba, of the total fires, 103 of them were human caused. Now, is that just because some people want to go live in some hotels? I don't know, but that's another debate that I shouldn't have on here. Here's your fire. The major one is probably right there. There is some fire bans and everything else that's in Saskatchewan. Canola's down, rapeseed is down, soybean oil is down slightly as well. Crude oil is down $1. not that that's looking like it's changing trends. Soybeans are down as well, and your wheats are all up now after a little bit of a rough day yesterday. So here's your canola on your July futures. Looks like we've got a little bit of a increase from where we were. This is still a great place to maybe just get the heck out of those contracts. And if you want to hold on for a little wee bit, you can. I would be. A price of roll is very soon here, so um, here's your November contract, and we keep on trading at these values. And the longer you trade at these values, less likely it's going to break out of there without some story. Now, is our weather going to be the story, which generally is the one that will break out the market in here? There is that delay of getting rain, and it's not a whole lot of delay, but that delay of getting rain could actually really hurt some of those crops, that's for sure. Your European rapeseed is still downward trend in the last little bit, but it's in this wedge here. And it looks like an upward wedge, and you would say the same thing about soybean oil. You got an upward channel, really, but it's at the bottom end of this channel. And if you're looking at soybean futures, if we haven't done that trade that was suggested by Kyle, expecting some downside here. And that's a normal thing, but with the WASDE report, you may want to pay attention to what those numbers are, whether you want to get into it or wait. Crude oil, it got above the 200-day moving average, and then it's now trading right at it. Canadian dollar just keeps on moving forward here a little bit higher, but it's still not making new highs, that is for sure. If we're going to be converting some of the US dollar to Canadian dollar, you may want to look at that in your account, especially if we get to these values over here, so 74 cents or whatever. Canola or wheat, a little bit of a recovery here today, but it's in this upward move, but it needs to make higher highs than these highs that we've just made, and we're going to run out of time on the July contract. Here's your December contract, and we are making higher highs, but we're a long ways from our target at $7 to $6.90 up there for futures only kind of contracts. Here's your Kansas wheat. It is towards the bottom end of this range, and your Chicago wheat, same idea, has not really made it over. It looks like your 200-day moving average is maybe puts a lid on this contract. Here's your corn, and your corn weekly. So the corn weekly just reminds you where some of these lows were in last August, July. And look forward to the report and the information that comes from that today.